All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today's special guest is Matt Barron. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great today, Chris. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man, we finally got to connect. We've been trying to connect for a little bit, and you're here. So I think the thing I'm learning is that a lot of people they have families and kids and work and got to do them at night.
Yeah, this is the
You
best
know?
time for me, so I appreciate you being flexible with it.
Of course. So today, I love doing the running journeys because the stories are really, and sometimes you don't hear things that you might not know. And look, we get to know you a little bit. We did have you on several months ago, right before Boston Marathon, and you were telling us a little bit about your goals and what you wanted to accomplish. There was 4 or 5 others on. It was a lot of fun. But now I want to go a little bit deeper talking to you. So let's start with you started running. When did you get the love for it?
Yeah, so my running journey goes back quite a way. So one of my earliest memories was and this will get a little heavy, so I'll preempt the audience. But one of my earliest memories was when I was 4 years old. Unfortunately, my mom's sister, my aunt, got hit by a car
Damn.
while she was running. She was an avid runner, loved it. And so that
Wow.
memory was, ingrained, very traumatic at the time. And my aunt was just a wonderful person, a ton of passion just for life, for energy, for everything. And so she became, even though a horrible event, she became a big figure throughout my life as a motivator to be as happy as I can be, bring as much energy as I can be. And then I think subtly some of the running and her love of running carried on. Both my parents are pretty active. My mom would always do the Race for the Cure in Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up, which was a 5K there. It was huge. And so I do that for my earliest days, whether it was walking, jogging, and that sort of evolved into, I did track in high school and then my junior year, and then walked on to the track team at MIT, which is where my undergrad. And so that's the origin of the running story. And then,
Let's go a little deeper.
yeah,
We don't
yeah,
do so high level. So you ran in high school a little bit, you said?
yep. I
And it
ran in high
was,
school a little bit. I was a football player that was too skinny and small to make the field. So it took me a while to grow. Actually, my sophomore year, I was like the slowest dude on the team, had to do the laps before the 2 a days,
yeah.
kind of slow. And then I eventually grew into it and took on tracks, but all short distance stuff like
Okay.
4x1, 400 type stuff. And I threw the javelin.
It's funny how that it feels like it translates or it can translate short distance to long distance. Because you're really fast in the long distance too. So it's just interesting. So you went to college and you get on to what team was that?
I ran track and
Okay.
what for just my freshman and sophomore year. And then I wasn't really good enough to make the time investment worth it. And I quit after my sophomore year. Always did some light running throughout college, but always because I went to school in Boston.
Yeah.
The Boston Marathon was like the best day of the year, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just out there celebrating with all the other runners. And my parents are both from Boston originally as well. And I made it a goal to eventually run Boston. I just knew that was not going to be when.
A lot of people don't do Boston or even marathons during college. As a matter of fact, in their 20s, I've seen several times where think about the races today, and you are starting to see younger people come in. And I think that's a good thing. And you start seeing them train, you're going to see faster and faster times, I think. So it isn't already interesting to see. So are you done with college and you're like, you want to just start running or what?
Yeah. So I moved out to LA my first year out and I just did.
Wait, you went from Boston to LA?
Yeah. I went from Boston to LA. So my brother was in New York. My sister was in LA. My parents were in Pittsburgh, and they said,
Everywhere.
got to pick a lane. LA was a little bit more my vibe at the time. And so I moved out there and started work in LA. That only
What-
last year because my girlfriend at the time got into dental school in Dallas.
Okay. So that's what brought you to
That's what
Dallas. Okay, girl. Good. So we came to Dallas and then,
came to Dallas for a girl. And then, so I'd run just maybe 15 miles when I was, and then when I moved to Dallas, I decided new city, I should try this marathon thing. I want to do Boston at some point. So let me
yeah.
just see what I can do. And so I ran Dallas Marathon for the first time in 2014.
That's pretty early. So did you just pick a plan or what did you do
Yeah, I
to train?
Googled,
Like how you just Googled it?
I Googled running training plans, and many of your listeners may know that one of the first hits is, at least at that time, was Hal Higdon. I don't know if you've ever seen his stuff.
Yeah.
Which is honestly really good fundamentals for getting into it in different levels. And it talks you through the basics, which is essentially 80% chill run. I didn't know it at the time, but 80% like recovery running and then a couple workouts a week. Chose kind of his basic plan and tried to.
Did it by yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I was totally by myself.
You had no friends.
Yeah.
I do.
I had coworkers,
Okay.
but not many coworkers that were running at the time.
Okay.
And I also used it at that time in my life. It was very much a outlet from work and being able to just think. And so it was great.
Out of curiosity, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a consultant.
Okay.
Got it. I was there.
You make a bunch of PowerPoints and then hand it to them and charge them a lot of money and be like, there's you go.
We try to do more.
I know what you do.
But yeah, no, I started there and I've been there ever since. And I love it. You can be busy and it's great to have kind of an outlet. Yeah.
So you ran your first marathon. Did you run any halves or anything before that?
Yeah. So I did a half in high school, did an Alaskan cruise with my family. It happened to be on the longest day of the year, which Anchorage does a half on that day. So my sister and I just decided.
Did it kick your ass or?
Yeah, that I did off of like random training in my basement. And I was doing sprint at the time in high school. So yeah, it was good. Like it was decent, but yeah, a lot of opportunity.
Just think of what you know now, what you could have been then.
Yeah.
Okay. You really haven't done a half in a long time. So you just jump into marathon training.
Yeah. So just jump in the marathon right off the couch.
And you did a 2014 Dallas, you said?
I did 2014 Dallas, and that commenced kind of an era of my running career, which I would call couch to Dallas with an aspiration for try to Boston qualify, which for anyone listening is not the best strategy. Overall, so I would essentially 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, I would start, it would be September. I would say, I really got to go start training for this thing. And
For a couple months.
that'd be hard for a few months. And then I'd run Dallas and then I'd disappear off the tracker. Like I'd have a good 20 miles and then disappear off the tracker, cramp up, run a couple 15-minute miles at the end and get back.
That's interesting. Knowing what you can do today. This is very interesting. So obviously it was a lack of training.
Yeah.
For a long term anyways.
It was a lack of a lot of things. I think it was most importantly a lack of consistency, which I think people underrate the ability to go from one cycle to the next cycle to sort of steady gain improvement. When you interrupt that, just it takes time to come back. And then
I think that one of the things that you said is you basically went from couch to a marathon and then is like, hey, I want to try to qualify for Boston.
Yeah.
I think
for sure. We can stay.
look, there's people that have done it. I've had people on this podcast, a few that have done it, right?
Yeah.
The last guy I talked, or the last podcast that came out, but with Kevin, his first marathon he did. But he was doing a lot of training. Like it wasn't like he was just went from couch. He's done halves, but he put a whole year worth of marathon training.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of talent. But in general, my thought is just go run your first marathon. Don't have any goals necessarily. Just, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a goal, but just try to run it.
For sure. And that was honestly my first, I did that. But then after the first, I was like, all right, I can do this one. Now what do I do? And I think I just set myself for such an arbitrary and bold aspiration for the training.
Yeah, and I think we all do that to some degree. When we don't know what we don't know. So what kind of changed? So for the next 3 or 4 years, you struggled to get the Boston Marathon time?
Yeah, no, it was almost like, it was really 7 years. So I did that kind of couch to Boston for 4 years and got into business school. And so when I got into business school, I made a goal while I was going to be in school on a couple of things in life. One of them was to become more dedicated to my running and more consistent. And so I was probably doing 30 to 40 miles a week in my training cycles, which I already talked about, were pretty inconsistent.
Yeah.
In those first 4 years. And then when I got to business school, I picked up to almost 70. And then that's when I ended up qualifying for Boston the first time in April.
Question though, I want to kind of go back to the very first thing you said. Is it your aunt?
Yeah, my aunt.
Yeah. Your aunt dies running and she got hit by a car and
Yeah.
had to get to
Yeah.
her.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. You thought
I mean, I've heard of runners doing that.
yeah.
Saddest thing I've ever heard. Whenever you going through some of this run, did you think about her?
Yeah.
Was that on your mind? Was there a specific,
All the time and none of the time, if
Hmm.
that makes sense, Chris, in some ways. There are so many parts of my life where her, the symbol of her and what I remember of her come into play. For example, my college essay was about her and that situation, how it shaped my life and for my passion. Got me to MIT, which created a lot of other opportunities for me. And so he's been a consistent part of it. Definitely something that I commonly think about. And I know in some ways it's a small way, but it's a nice way to just carry forward her life.
yeah, I love that. You mentioned it in the beginning, so that's why I
Yeah.
brought it up. But it's
Yeah.
interesting how you kept on to that. Like it was just 4 years old. I mean, it's so young.
I know.
It's traumatic, right? So whatever memories you have are probably very slim, but that memory certainly is stuck out. So I love that you've done that. And you said you wrote a whole paper to get him
Yeah.
about it. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's the paper about? Just her and the writing
Yeah, it was
farther.
it was a creative writing about, because I think she had, at least my memory of her and the others that knew her, she just had such a passion and energy,
Yeah.
enthusiasm for life. And about, I think I've tried to carry forward some of that. I think that has actually been something I try to do outside running, but then in the running.
So you go to business school and you get a little bit more serious about running. So did you just run more miles or what was the serious part?
So it was quite a few things. So it was more miles. It was better miles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still to this day, probably my easy runs I've gone substantially faster than I was 10 years ago, but my easy runs are probably slower now than they were when I first started training.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard a lot of people do that.
Very common. And so my variation of like my tempo pace was a 6:45. My easy run day was a 7. And so that was a big deal. I also got much longer tempo efforts in, which I think was definitely very helpful. And then honestly, I was just far more consistent.
It sounds like that's all you need. So how long was business school? 2 years, 3?
2 years.
Okay.
2 years.
So did you run like a marathon during that time or did you?
Yeah. So I did New Jersey. I did 2. So I did my first Dallas marathon was a 3:40, just a context of the evolution.
Yep.
First Dallas marathon was a 3:45, which is great for first effort.
Yep.
Whittled that down to essentially 3:20, 3:25 for a few years. And that was always though at like probably on track for 3:05 pace through 20 and then losing a lot of time in the back 6. And then Dallas of 2017, I ran just under 10, I think.
Okay.
Around
And
there.
you're still not hitting the
Still not
qualifying
hitting,
time.
but close, or maybe it was 3:05. I can't remember. It was close to what at that time, the window was 3:05. And so I might've been just within it, but I knew you needed a bit of a gap buffer under. So then I did a 2:59 for sub 3 in April, 2018,
okay.
New Jersey. And then
It's quite
that qualified me from Boston in 2019.
Okay.
So my first Boston was 2019.
dude, we're not even done yet. And I already know what you've run. You've gained a lot. It's pretty,
Yes, but
but it took you a while.
it took a while. There's a lot more years behind the improvement than it seems, and it is certainly, as we'll go through, it is absurdly non-linear, right?
Yeah.
So 3 years I was running 3:25, right?
Yeah.
Almost no improvement. And then I get a big chunk down to the low.
I've seen that a lot though, is that people are stuck at a certain thing. And sometimes that could be, sometimes it's the body, I think. Sometimes I think it's the training or there's a lot of things it could be, but a lot of times it's mental. On a 3:25 or that's about what I can do. Maybe I can do a few minutes, and then certainly trying to think about all the ones you did and thinking I got to get under a 3:05. As a matter of fact, I need to get a couple minutes under 3:05.
Yeah.
Was it 3:05, right?
3:05 time, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 3. Yeah.
That probably seemed pretty daunting.
Yeah, I felt like there was more. Luckily, and we talked about the benefit I've had is that I know I have this short speed. So it's about I need to build more endurance. So that's always been
So you're smart enough to know that. Then.
It's more of a hubris though, but that it's given me the idea that like, okay, I put the time, maybe I can get closer because if you look at equivalent, you look at them equivalent, be capable to be more building them.
Was there ever a marathon that just from what we're talking about so far that any crazy story like oh my god like you mentioned that you had to run like
Oh yeah, I was just anyone knows the old Dallas marathon course.
yeah
You come down, it's like Main and Commerce area to Bell. I'm like, if you showed up, you would see me in the middle, crawled out, full body cramping for 3 straight. That was just that's what I thought. That's what it took to run the marathon, and that's what happened to the body. But I didn't know that was from lack of training and lack of
Christian
proper
maybe
nutrition. Yeah,
yeah.
it took me even when I first qualified for Boston.
So in 2018 was it Dallas? You said you get the or was it some other
New Jersey
New Jersey? You get the two. They're a 59, and then what? I'm curious what changed because before that you ran a
305.
Oh, you ran a 305 before.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did like 305, 310 in Dallas
Okay.
earlier that year, but
So it's
that
close.
came down from a 325, which was like I
Okay.
just really added consistency on that.
Got it.
That would have
Sounds
been
like you're going in the right direction. That was really good.
going
I
in the
mean,
right.
for it anyways, but not as you weren't bringing that time way down.
No, that's on the right track.
Okay. So did you go to Boston after that or what?
I did. So then I didn't do. I don't think I did another marathon until Boston the
Mm.
following year. I
So-
did a lot of training, and so I felt much fitter. But I got hurt a couple months before Boston. I ran through it, and I had, for me, a terrible day. And so I actually ran that marathon. I ran Boston, I think, slower than my first Dallas, like
Really?
3:35. Yeah,
Okay.
that was the pain.
Was it just because you were injured or did you
Also,
just go?
yeah, it was a mix of injury slash. It took me a while to figure out the nutrition, and one of the big parts of the nutrition for majors that start later in the day is you need to eat far more even than a normal marathon, and so I think that just made me even more full. The cramping, and so I started cramping at like wow. And then there's at that point you've been building this thing up for 6 years of your life.
Dude,
Your one day goes miserable, and you know that at mile 10, that is a dark place to be then.
at
So-
mile 10 and you're in that place.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
So in that
Pretty
race,
scary.
I thought I was my family, I thought they were going to be a mile 14.
Didn't show
Traffic,
up.
some other stuff, it didn't work out. And so if they had been there, I would have gone off. But I didn't end up seeing them until 21. And so by then I was like, I'm close enough.
I might as well finish.
Yeah.
Glad they didn't show up then.
I'm glad no, honestly, I am. I'm glad.
Wow. Okay. So you had to regroup. What'd you do?
Yeah.
After?
So I took about 2 months to get the injury away.
And were you mentally wiped? Were you just so down afterwards or did you get back up and say,
I was just disappointed that I put in so much effort and built this up. But I think it's another lesson. It's a good lesson in there that I should have felt like the training was a win and the shape I was in was a win. At the time, sometimes it feels like the analogy I use. You're in the forest chopping trees and you want every axe hit to go directly to the tree coming down. But sometimes it's just like, you gotta just keep going and going. And eventually you get a big kind of windfall, but it was
that's
not.
why you need
it.
to use a chainsaw, my friend.
I know. If I had one for running, I'd love it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's a great analogy. You know, you get back at it a couple months and what was your plan then?
Yeah. So I was coming back to my job and I got put on a project. So I ran Tour de Florida, the quarter marathon there. I was like, I'm coming back to Dallas. And so I want to be part of the running community. I met a guy that was part of Train Pegasus, his name's Chris Dio, and he introduced me and I was like, awesome. I'm going to start to come to these things.
Okay. Your first community to do this
What?
first time you started to run with people.
Yeah, it was like something I wanted to intentionally do when I was coming back,
Okay.
coming back to Dallas, build a community. But then, and that was in 2019, the very early days of what funds and were building. But I then, not COVID, I got put on a travel project first. And so but the project I was on was in Boston at the time. So I was like, can't make these runs on the days they are. So then, and then COVID hit and then it took me a while to ingrain myself. And I started to show up to some train packets with stuff in maybe 21 or 20.
Okay. So you start 21, 22, you start running with train pegs.
Yeah. And I was there and I ran another Dallas, but I never got past 3 again. I was hoping to get back under that at some point. And then in 2023, my wife and I were going to have our second kid, and my job created a 5-month paternity leave, extended the paternity leave. Made
For you?
Yeah. So it's
For men?
fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it was great for both sexes.
Yeah.
And so I knew that, and my son was due in September. I knew that was coming up. I ran a half, one of the Irving race series.
Yeah.
March. I felt super out of shape. And I was like, man, I cannot, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to have this much time off
Yeah.
work. I want to, one, use it to refocus and be a great dad and support my family. But then 2, I wanted it to use as an intentional time to get fit again. And I didn't want to be spending the first 3 months of it trying to get my miles back up and get back into shape. So I vowed to myself that I would be more consistent through the spring and summer that year so that I could like really truly take advantage of that time off. And so that was the fall of 2023 when my son was born. And that's where I really started to see my time after sort of.
Were you running? You were running with the community though, or with some
I was
people?
running. Yeah, I started to that one. It allowed me to show up very consistently. So starting from kind of March, April that year, I started to show up much more consistently at this run. Me Smith, who I know you've had come on the podcast, she moved Dallas in September. So I started running with her then, and that sort of unlocked the possibility of what I thought I could do because I would just try to keep up on some of the runs, which is great. And then I also did crazy training volume at that time. So I averaged about 90 miles a week for kind of the September through December that year and lead up to Houston. And then that's when I ran a 240, I think it's 249.
So what was your fastest before that? The 249?
259.
Or 259. So what made you like during the race? So I understand you're running 90 miles a week. So maybe that gives you the confidence of it comes easy now because you're running a lot of miles. You can easily run a marathon no matter what it takes.
Yeah.
Was it like, okay, I'm running this marathon. Did you think I'm going to run at this pace knowing that you're going to hit under a 250? Or did you start it out as, I just want to try to hit under 3? What was your thinking going in?
I think I was going for 245 or 247.
Okay. So you already were.
I was
Pretty
more
impressive
than I probably should have been.
I don't think so.
But I just I went off of, and I've started to do this more. It's just whatever, I'll do a staple long run. I do a lot of Jack Daniels style workout. And usually I'm a 12, 15 mile long run at marathon pace somewhere in it. So I did that. I felt okay after, and so I very bad at it.
All right. So you went in there knowing that you wanted to go that speed. Actually, you wanted to go faster, but okay.
It was far faster than I would have expected I could go if you had asked me and before that, but I felt like that's where.
Did you run a half marathon at that speed or faster or something before?
Yeah, I ran the Fort Worth half, and I ran like a 118, 20 at the time. And so that also was helpful if you put that in some of the equivalency tables that get you around sort of the 240, somewhere in the 2s. And that was a 7-minute PR when I ran that.
For half. Yeah. No, it's like you went all out on that half, and that gave you a lot of confidence for that full. So I guess my lesson there is, or a lesson there, I think, is thinking it is probably really good to do like a hard half, do a race before your marathon, like a month or so before I don't know, whatever the recommended thing is to see where your fitness is and go a little faster than you think you can. Yeah. Especially if you have a lot of fitness.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I think go as fast as your training would say you could. And so I'd done, even for the half, I do 6 or 7 mile run at tempo effort before, should feel comfortable at that half pace. And that sort of is giving some of the confidence. And then I think the only other lesson is just, I think there is so much of the community that I'm grateful and thankful for. And it's changed just my general happiness in life and in running, that I think also selfishly make me a lot faster. If
you had to pick one person you like the best, who would it be? No, I'm just joking.
Yeah. Got too many good ones. You start. Other than my wife, I'll take first. My kids next, and then the runners, I can't.
The runners are all equal.
They're all like,
No, I'm just messing with you. I like what you said about that. And I talk about this all the time is so for years, I ran with DRC and built a community around that. And that helped take me to another level, right? I'm not necessarily the fastest or whatever, but it just helped me stay consistent and run things that I didn't think I could run. And I love that you said that because look, you were running pretty fast at times.
Yep.
You aren't consistent all the time. You aren't hitting your potential ever.
Yep.
Now, you started running with Mimi and Pegasus and other things. That really just sent you to a next level because one, you're more consistent. Two, you ran more miles and you just became smarter and you're running with people to keep you accountable.
I think the last part is honestly, it's so big, Chris, is the morning. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some amazing people out there, but the first 2 minutes of every morning, I'm sort of like, no, just there's that inch to be like, I could just sleep a little longer. Like, I'll make this 8-mile day a 4-mile day or whatever. But like, you're meeting people at a certain time, at a certain place. It is just hard to disappoint them by being like, can't figure out my life story, can't make it today. Or like, and it makes it that much harder to break the habit. And I think there is so much to habit forming and create.
I love that you did that. So you finally you've hit two really good, you've hit several good times, but
yeah,
that's it. But two that are under 3 hours, one was way under. So what happened next? Houston, by the way, I love Houston.
Yeah, Houston's great. One of my favorite. So well done and easy. But so I had a long-term ambition of being able to qualify for kind of all that majors, which 240 Tokyo is a crapshoot, but Berlin is like the high water mark of 245. So I was still hungry to see if I could get under that. And so that spring, I did not do one. I did the Pittsburgh half because it happened to be on my mom's birthday. And
awesome.
And then
I hear Pittsburgh is amazing, by the way.
Amazing city. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's grown a lot, become very beautiful.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I was thinking Pittsburgh's a dump, but now I don't think that's true at all.
No, it never has been. It's had that.
Yeah.
It's good and it's got the hard work vibes to it. But
yeah.
So then I did the Dallas half in that winter and then I did Houston again. Okay. So actually, sorry, I'm skipping one. I did New York in the fall and that did not go well.
Marathon?
The marathon. I went back.
Is this 23 or 24?
This would have been 23.
Okay.
And so I ran like a 3:07 or 3:00. So good time, but for what I was shooting for, wasn't there. And then I decided that really motivated me to go back to Houston and have a good time. And so then in Houston, I was training a lot with the blog. I could between those two, and then in Houston, I ran that 8. So 2 straight years of 10-minute. Yeah.
Wow. Geez, dude. These are like 10-minute PRs.
Yeah.
This is insane. Wow. What'd you do different? Just just stayed consistent in the training?
I felt like New York was a race. Again, I hadn't figured out the nutrition at that point. It's a later in the day major. I forgot my breakfast that morning. It was to get out there. I felt like training wise, I was in a good spot. And in the Dallas half that year, I ran well, gave me confidence that I could try to do something.
Yeah, you weren't. Okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, all right, if I was thinking I was going to try to hit a 245, because that was your goal, right? Yeah. To hit under a 245. But you hit a 238. So you're going quite a bit faster. Yeah. Was it again the training? Like you said, okay, I ran half marathon and it was this. I'm going to go fast again. I'm going to start it out this fast at a 238 pace.
Yeah. Essentially, I did a 114 and a half in Dallas.
Oh, okay. That's quite a bit.
Yeah. That made me feel, and then we did this crazy training thing where we did Dallas half and then we did 3 like massive workouts after the half and like a 10-day span. And so doesn't make sense, would not recommend to anyone, but it gave me confidence. Those went well. And so it gave me confidence that I could try for a fast time at Houston.
What are you sloths doing anyways? It sounds pretty hardcore sometimes what you guys are putting yourself through.
Yeah. And some of it's self-driven, honestly. It's just what the body's capable of. So
I don't hate it.
A lot of it's also that, and this has all come, I think what we haven't talked about is at this point, I've started to be really consistent. And so had about 3,000 mile a year. So 60 plus a week, every week average. And I also think you can do some big workouts when you have a huge foundation.
No, it's a very good point. Look, I run about 40 miles, 35 to 40 miles a week, and I just
Awesome.
keep it at that. And I'm
Just
good.
great.
What was I had a good question and now I forgot it. But so you run a 2:38. You must be feeling good. You just
Yeah,
qualify for
but that was
Boston.
great. That was great. And so now we're past what I thought I was capable of.
What are you capable of? I don't even know.
I don't know, but I think that's been fun because that finally took the time like goal there. I don't have a big time goal anymore, which I think is actually, at least for where I am in life, like 3 kids, got a pretty busy job, that it helps me take the training by like, where am I at before the race? I'm going to try to run the race. I'm going to try to be consistent and show up. And I know one of these cycles I'll have another big improvement. I'm hoping I will, but I don't have a long-term aspiration. I've been very lucky to be at a place.
So Houston was 24 then.
Yeah, 24.
Did
I did it again in 25. I did it this past.
you did Houston again?
Yeah, I did Houston again.
How'd you do there?
I PR'd and just got right under, but not by as much as previous 2 years, but just under people.
So 2:37. So
Yeah,
speed.
7, the 8.
No, but you're going back to your 3:25 days. Remember, you're very consistent there, and now maybe you're at the 2:38 kind of.
Maybe,
So,
yeah.
So you do your second Boston, and by the way, that was amazing. I don't know what. So I get to go to Boston every year. I don't run it. My wife does. She's done it for 12 years straight. And so I get to go. But this year, for some reason, maybe it's because I've tried to push to get to know people better this last year or so in the community.
Very great community.
Yeah, and to me, it was way more fun just being there, just taking it all in. I was at the finish line cheering for people. Tell me about your experience there, because everybody seems to love it. You've been there a lot. You used to live there.
Yeah, no, I love this city. It was great memories for me, but my training cycle leading up to it, not very good. So I know I think I talked about this a little bit when I was on previously, but I essentially had a minor sprained ankle in February. I was like just getting back to consistency when we talked, and then I got a real bad stomach bug, so it was out another week in March. I went in without kind of huge expectations on it. I was going to go out somewhere, hoping for somewhere under 235 and just go by feel and my heart rate. And I had an awesome day. It's like,
You did.
Favored it, had fun. I ran at 240 in change and super consistent. The first half and the back half were within a minute, which he lost. Pretty great.
I think the slots in general had a great day that day.
Yeah.
All of them. So what do you do when you go to Boston now? Like it's only your second marathon there, but did you get to go to the stores or?
It was like a vacation. It was a vacation.
Okay.
Like tonight. So we didn't take.
You took your wife. Okay.
Yeah, I took my wife. We have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So we didn't.
That'd be tough.
That would be tough. And I stayed with a really close college friend of mine that still lives there. My wife has 2 college friends that live there. So like it was like a weekend to visit friends with a marathon in between, which I think was another good level stat point. It wasn't like the pinnacle race for me. And that actually helped with my body. That had
do a pretty good race. It's your third best race ever.
I meant more from like a milestone or goal. Yeah. I was happy to be there, honestly, and happy to be on the line. And so anything that it was a little bit better than my previous time doing.
You kicked that in the ass, so that was awesome. Does your wife run at all, or?
No, she does. She does like high intensity intervals.
Yes.
He makes fun of me for not smoke praying. For fed play college volleyball. We'll run every mostly.
Yeah. It's hard to do everything. If you're running 60 or 70 miles a week, when do you have time? You have a high intensity job. You have 3 kids.
Yeah.
What else? You travel.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So what's next for you?
Yeah. So I'll do Dallas this winter, which I'm really excited for because I just haven't done the marathon in a bit.
You have a chance to, I don't know if you have a chance to win it, but you get close. Top 5 at least.
Yeah. I'm hoping to run a good time, and we'll see what the positioning in a race is so hard to control because it's mostly about who shows up, and I won't know that. Yeah, so I'm going to do Dallas full, and then I'll do the Houston half in January, and then I'll go back to Boston, and then I hope to go back to New York next fall. But that's a crapshoot because the qualified times they're cut off crazy fast with non-resident.
And your tune-up's going to be Toyota, and that's in Irving, right?
Yeah, for Dallas. Yeah, I think so. I'd love to do a November half. Like I said, I think that helps a lot to just gain confidence to where you are.
So I'll definitely see you in Irving and Houston.
Awesome.
I'm doing the halves. I'm going to sign up for that.
Yeah, Houston.
And I'll see you in Boston as well. I just won't be, I'll be running the 5K. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's awesome, man. Is there something I should have asked that you're like, man, I really want to say these things that I just didn't ask?
No, there aren't too many that you talked about. I think as I take a step back on just my whole journey, I think about what have I learned through this and what would I recommend to other runners. It's number one, patience, right? And I think everybody looks at other runners and sees their time and says, man, that must have happened so quick. As we talked through mine, it was like a long journey, bumpy roads and not always linear. So I think just getting out there and showing up is huge. So patience, consistency matters a ton. And I think building a community helps create that. And I think just finding kind of happiness and peace in the process has been huge for me. So I'm just happy to be out there, happy to be training.
I love that, man. And that's some sound advice. And I think, especially if you're doing the marathon and running in general, but certainly the marathon, you've got to be patient. You've got to be consistent. And
that implies to the long training as well as like on race day, the patience.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it. Love your journey and story. And just like most people, it's up and down. Yeah. And you're still kicking ass and doing amazing stuff, man. You have a great story. Yeah. And I really appreciate you sharing it. So
yeah, I feel very lucky and grateful. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on dfwrunningtalk.substack.com. We're also on Instagram. We're on YouTube. And of course, we're on Apple and other places that you can listen to. So thanks everyone for coming. And again, thanks to Matt Barron for coming on.
Thanks, Chris.